Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, participants, and our distinguished speakers. My name is Sarwa Edi Sofyan. I am your moderator for today, and it's my pleasure to welcome you here to the LIFT International Webinar Series hosted by Office of International Affairs, OIA, Universitas Syah Kuala Banda Aceh, Indonesia. Today, we are pleased to welcome Dr. Chitan Singh Solansky, a special guest from India. Dr. Chitan is a professor at the Department of Energy Science and Engineering, Indian Institute of Technology, Mumbai. He is known as a solar man of India. Besides being a professor, he is also an educator, innovator, researcher, entrepreneur, author, and philosopher, known for his remarkable work in the solar sector. And today, we are going to hear some result of his work and get the information in what direction we are heading in this field. The presentation then follows by question and answer session. The participants can ask the questions through the chat box, which is available at the right top of the screen. And it is only participants who follow till the end of the program will be given the certificate. The link for downloading the certificate will be sent through the chat box by Office of International Affairs Committee. After question and answer session, promotion program will be also presented by our speakers, Dr. Chitan. So, I suggest the participant keep on the webinar. Next, I would like to invite Professor Chitan Singh Solansky for presentation. Today, he will share with us about energy Swaraj, the energy of sustainability. Please welcome Professor Chitan Singh Solansky.
Thank you, Professor Saurav, for a very kind introduction. And I will share my screen now to show the presentation. All right. So if you can see, that's great. So let me start presenting what I meant today. And as the idea of energy Swaraj, and as I said, it is the essence of the sustainability. What I will not do today is I will not talk too much in the technicalities of the topic, whether it is energy or solar energy in general. But I would like to make this kind of the whole concept clear about the energy and the sustainability. I think the humanity as a whole is fundamentally going in a wrong direction, thinking in a wrong direction. And therefore, it is very important for the all of us, and especially the young generation, to set things right, set things straight at this moment when we have some time to correct it. What happens and why do we do this? Because, of course, the life on the planet is infinity. It's a very long, millions of years have gone. But as a human, our life is only 70, 80, 90, 100 years. And therefore, we tend to miss out on the bigger picture. We tend to miss out that the universe is infinite, the time is infinite, the space is infinite. And therefore, more often than not, actually we know nothing about what is happening. And it is very limited capacity of the human mind that we comprehend things in the universe and in the world. As a result of this limited capacity, we tend to make many mistakes. Today, what I'm going to do is probably I will highlight the kind of mistakes that we have been making and what is required to correct it. So these are the contents that I'm going to cover. It is important to know that what is the kind of world we are living in. What is the driver of life? I mean, the energy is a driver of life, and whether we understand it correctly, how energy is related with the climate change, and eventually, after discussing all this, I will bring this idea of energy Swaraj and what does it mean, what is the whole idea, and why it is essential part for the sustainability. All right. To begin with, I mean, I'm sure some of you might know this image. This is the image of the universe, right? There are many galaxies in our universe, and only one of the galaxy is ours, that is called the Milky Way. And our galaxy looks like this. So in the infinity of the universe, there are many galaxies, and only one galaxy is our Milky Way. Within the Milky Way galaxy, there are many stars, and only one star is ours, the sun. The bright spot that you see in the center is not our star, by the way. Somewhere down below, there is a dot, which is the sun. So it's a very, very tiny star in the entire galaxy. And around this sun, there are many planets. Around our sun, there are many planets which are revolving. And one little tiny planet, the Earth, you can see the dimension of Earth as compared to our sun is very, very small. It's 109 times smaller. And around the sun, around the Earth also, there is a very thin layer, blue layer that you see where human life is possible. So you can see that in the infinity of the vastness of the entire universe, there is a very, very small space where human can survive, or all kind of life can survive. So we should be really taking care of this space, isn't it? It's a very precious space. And what used to be on this space is beautiful rivers, water, a nice greenery, flora and fauna, nice jungle, forest used to be there, and the rivers. This is all used to be part of the nature, the very nature where we are living in right now. But what has happening in the last century and a half, that we have learned to use energy, or particularly fossil energy, and which has been driving our life. And it is rightly so, because energy in this chart, what is shown here is there are 17 sustainable development goals. And each goal, in the center of it is a Sustainable Development Goal 7 of the United Nations. What this chart shows is that the Sustainable Development Goal 7 has relationship with all other goals. So the energy in a way is related to poverty, hunger, health, education, gender, economic growth, inequity, climate change, goal number 13, even the peace in the world is related with energy. So energy is a very pervading force in the entire universe, that it connects to the many aspects of our life. And therefore it is good that people are pursuing, the governments are pursuing to consume more energy, generate more energy, provide electricity 24/7, all kind of things are happening. So more energy means better social and economic growth. So that's a good news. The bad news is that the goal number 13, climate change, is exactly in the opposite direction of goal number 7. So they are in opposite direction, means that if you try to achieve goal number 7, you fail in goal number 13. And if you try to achieve goal number 13, you fail in goal number 7. And that is, and why these are in opposite direction? Because when we try, 80% of the energy that is consumed in the world today, in all possible form, including electricity, transportation, cooking, 80% of energy comes from the fossil energy, fossil fuels. And every time we use fossil energy, we emit carbon dioxide. And carbon dioxide emission has been increasing now super fast, and not very fast, super fast. So it has been a almost constant concentration. This graph here is for the 1000 years. So the concentration of CO2 in the atmosphere was constant throughout the human history of almost 200,000 years. But particularly the last 50 to 100 years, look at the amount of increase in the CO2, and it is now growing almost as a vertical line. So from 270 parts per million, which was the CO2 concentration, it has now come to 415 parts per million. Almost 50% increase in the CO2 is caused by the human activity. As a result of that, what is happening? Global warming is happening because carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas and it has a greenhouse impact. As a result of that, the global warming is increasing. The temperatures, this graph shows that the temperatures are rising. And particularly from 1960s, 1970s onwards, last 50 years, look at the pace at which the temperature is rising. So it's rising very fast. And many scientists, including the United Nations report on the global warming, the 2018, there was a report that 1.5 degrees centigrade warming of the planet, or the global warming. The 1.5 degrees centigrade is a kind of a very sacrosanct number, very holy number when it comes to the global warming. So scientists all over the world have been very categorically saying that, look, we have to limit the global warming to under 1.5 degrees centigrade in the base case scenario, or maximum 2 degrees centigrade. So this graph shows that when this was plotted, we will hit 1.5 degrees centigrade something around 2040, right? Just a few years before that. And since then, there are many corrections that has been made. And this is the report which came just about 12 days ago, in 8th July 2020. This is a report from very reputed organization, WMO, World Meteorological Organization, which says that there is a 20% chance that one of the next 5 years will be at least 1.5 degrees centigrade warmer than the pre-industrial levels. And the chance is increasing with the time. So how terrible it is that many of us do not realize. And as I said in the very beginning, that as a human, actually we know nothing. And there is a really infinity of the knowledge that is available, and what a human mind can comprehend is a very little, that too also in a very short time. And as a result of that, we make a mistake. So this is a big mistake, that we have adopted industrial revolution, and which is now causing global warming. And this global warming will eventually affect existence of our own life, existence of a human life. And look at this report which came in last year by United Nations Forum on the climate change. This forum says that heat is on, it is continuously increasing. The CO2 emission, despite the Paris Agreement in 2015, of where all countries in the world agreed to start decreasing the CO2 emission, it is not happening. Actually, CO2 emission is rising, and it has risen 1.7% every year since then. As a result of that, the CO2 concentration in the atmosphere is increasing, and it has touched 415 parts per million. Scientists also say that this has happened first time in the last 800,000 years history of this planet. And remember, there is no other planet where the life can exist. Not only that, we have been using many more resources from the planet that planet can actually afford. So there is something called Earth Overshoot Day. How many days it takes for humans to consume the resources generated by the planet in 1 year, right? So when we are in balance, the resources generated in 1 year should be consumed in 1 year. But in reality, we have been consuming much earlier than the 1 year. So for example, way back, even 50 years ago, 1977, the Earth Overshoot Day came 60 days before 31st December, which means whatever resources the planet has generated in 1 year, we have consumed in 60 days, less than a year. And it has been now coming earlier and earlier. And in 2019, the Earth Overshoot Day came on July. And for this year in 2020, we are likely to hit that resource limit in another 3, 4, 5 days. And from that day onwards till December 31st, we are over consuming the resources, which is not our right. It is, we do not own all the resources. What is also happening as a result of overconsumption, that and the population growth, that the per capita availability of resources is going down. For example, per capita land has gone down, per land has gone down, per capita forest has gone down, per capita fresh water availability has also gone down. So every natural resource that humans require to survive and thrive on this planet is declining. Declining in terms of but they are also declining in terms of the quality. So the land quality is, the soil quality is poorer, the forest is not as dense, the water is not as clean. So as a result of that, we have kind of partially destroyed this world. And it looks like this. I want to bring your attention to what is happening in the world. These are the images of what has happened last year. For example, this is the image from the Australia, where the forest fires were there for millions of acres of forest in Amazon, and in Australia. The forest burned like anything, and really almost 1 billion species died in this activity. This is the image of Venice city in Italy, in Europe, where the flooding happened. The seawater came in, not because there was a heavy rains, just seawater came in because of the other activity, and it remained there for many days. And you can imagine, this is the city center where the people are in the knee-deep water. This is the image of the European continent, which is a colder, cold kind of continent, and there is a snowfall that happens there. But look at the temperature that hit to 45.8 degrees centigrade. 45.8 degrees centigrade. In India is a warm country, but even 45.8 degrees is a really, really high temperature. And it is very unheard that Europe in a city temperature can go such a high level. This image is from the Middle East. You can see from the palm trees in the background, which is actually a desert area. But in the desert, there was a snowfall. You can see how thick snowfall was there. So what you can see here, that things are completely out of balance. Completely. There is where there should be snowfall, there is a high temperature. Where there should be a high temperature, there is snowfall. There is a forest, there is a fire, there is a water. All kind of things are happening. This is the image from Delhi. It was a very, very poor quality air, and it was like that for many, many days last year. And why not? Because there is a traffic jam of this magnitude, and there are many cities across the world where now there is a traffic jam and very poor quality of the air. And last year, I came to your university also, and I could see that everywhere in the world, when I was traveling across the globe, there was a traffic jams everywhere. There is a problem everywhere in the world. So that's why I'm saying that we do not even understand what the sustainability is all about. In fact, I keep giving example that the humans of today are like a parrots. What does a parrot do? You can teach a parrot to say something, right? To sing something or say something, and parrot will keep singing or saying those words without even realizing the meaning of it. And I think the same thing has been happening on the planet. The humans have been talking about sustainability from last 40, 50 years. Innumerable conferences were held on sustainability, but I don't think people ever understood what it actually means. So it's very simple. The sustainability can be understood from this equation that whatever you are consuming, it has to be generated, or generation has to be equal to consumption. Or for example, your monthly expenses should be equal to monthly income, right? In case if you start spending more money than what you earn in a month, you may survive for a few months, few years with the good friends around you, but eventually you'll break down, isn't it? It is not possible to have expenses more than the income, and therefore it is not possible to have a consumption more than generation. And Mahatma Gandhi, has told it very way back in 1932. He said that we may utilize the gifts of the nature just as we choose, but in her books, the debits are always equal to the credits. There is no balance in either. So you have to just the left hand side and the right hand side, you have to make it equal. In fact, he went on saying that again in 1933, I'm quoting it from very old speeches. He said, I suggest that we are thieves in a way. Thieves, right? We are stealing. So we are thieves in a way. If I take anything that I do not need for my own immediate use and kept it, I thieve it from somebody else. So if I'm using something, I'm taking something which do not need immediately, then I'm actually already stealing something. And that is unfortunately the nature of the world today, that we have been amassing and collecting the material and wealth like anything, right? He said, I venture to suggest that it is the fundamental law of the nature without exception. It's a fundamental law of nature without exception. The nature produces enough for our wants from day to day. And if only everybody took enough for himself, nothing more, there would be no pauperism, no poverty in the world. There will be no more dying of the starvation in the world. But so long as we have got this inequality, so long we are thieving. Whenever there is an inequity in the world, we are stealing, we are the thieves. And he said that almost 100 years ago, which looks very correct. And therefore, he famously said that earth provides enough to satisfy every man's need, but not every man's greed. There is absolutely no way we can actually fulfill more than our need. But in the today's world, if you have more money, you can have bigger car. If you have more money, you can have bigger house. You can have many house. If you have more money, you can spend as much water as you want. If you have more money, you can build swimming pools. So basically, there is no limit at all on any of our consumption, any of the material consumption that we do. And therefore, we are blatantly violating this saying from the Mahatma Gandhi. And because everything is finite, air in the atmosphere is finite, the water on the planet is finite, the land is finite, the soil is finite, the forest is finite, and therefore our consumption has to be finite. There is absolutely no way we can have unlimited consumption of anything. And therefore, Gandhi was not a scientist like a Newton or Einstein, but he understood the world and the human and the nature more than anybody else. And therefore, whatever he said, we can call it as a first fundamental law of sustainability. We can say that in an ecosystem of a finite resources, there can only be a finite consumption. There can only be a finite consumption. That is the first law of sustainability. And like you cannot violate the Newton's first law, second law, third law, you cannot violate this fundamental law of sustainability also. And if you do that, it will be on your own peril. We are going to suffer if you actually violate this law. In this line, there was a article last year when the economy was slowing down, Indian economy was slowing down. And this is an article from very well-known magazine called India Today. It says the auto industry is in the midst of severe slump. The policy intervention to revive the sector and economy at large are necessary to stave off the protracted crisis. Saying that if you want to avoid the long-term crisis in the economy, we must make a policy intervention and revive the sector. Why? Because so many cars are unsold, economy is slowed down, and production is there, but consumption is not there. So that is what I bring, that the crisis, what do we consider as a crisis, will be different if you look from very different angle. If you look at from the Gandhian way, this is a crisis. In fact, let me put it in a way, what is in the crisis? Having a car not sold is a crisis, or having a car sold is a crisis? As per the saying that there is only enough in the world for everybody's need, not for the greed, having a car sold is a crisis. But as per the current economists and the policies, having a car not sold is a crisis. So you understand that we are already have a big kind of a misconception that we have on for this planet, and that's why I said again in the beginning, we know nothing, because we are actually saying exactly things which are opposite of what is required for our sustainability. We are 180-degree apart from what is the requirement. And Gandhi again, he said, I would categorically state my conviction that the mania of mass production is responsible for the world crisis. He said, whatever we are doing, the mass production of cars, mass production of this, mass production of cables, mass production of TVs, everything, according to me, is a crisis. And production and consumption both become low. Production and at any price. What he's saying that, look, the production and the consumption has to be localized. And if you do that, we will not push indefinite increase in the production and the distribution. All the endless difficulties and the problems that our present economic system presents too would then come to an end. We have big problems in terms of our wealth is not distributed equally. As a result of that, there is a disparity in the world. As a result of that, there is a violence in the world. All kind of things are happening. So there are many problems the world is suffering. And the one major reason why we are suffering is that our production is not localized. Our consumption and production is not localized. So he went on saying a very famously again, that not the mass production, but the production by masses is required. So production by masses is required because mass production will lead into unequal distribution. And therefore, because people are living in a distributed manner, because resources, particularly the renewable energy resources, are also distributed in nature, therefore, it's much better to say that our generation should also be distributed. So therefore, we can formulate a second fundamental law of sustainability. And I can state it as, in an ecosystem of a finite resources, there can only be distributed production. It is not possible that we have centralized production, because centralized production means more problems. And if you really want to solve the problems of the world, let us focus on the distributed production. All right. And is it really possible to do something like this? And whether we can generate our energy locally, whether every one of us in any part in the world, can we generate our own energy and fulfill? Answer is yes. And we have been particularly doing a major project in IIT Bombay. Excuse me. So we have been doing a major project called Solar Urja. Urja means energy. So solar energy through localization for sustainability. So if you localize the energy solution, then probably we can be sustainable. I'm just going to give quick glimpses, because the whole idea of this talk is to change the concept that we have in our mind. So we have been helping a local community to get training on how to identify the components of a solar system, like batteries and circuits and modules and wires and multimeters. And we gave them training to kind of assemble these lamps. And last year in the 2nd October, I think many of your students also took part in this event. The women, we have worked with nearly 10,000 women, can actually do all kind of technical operations with this lamp. They got employed, they earned money. And not only that, we have also taught them how to do the entire wiring for their house, so they can do the entire electrification of the house. We have also helped them to do the entire solar system installation for their house, which they could do And not only that, we have gone to one step further where we have helped them to manufacture locally. So this is an image of a factory which is installed in the northern part of India, in the state called Rajasthan, where women came together and started a company to manufacture solar photovoltaic modules. Of course, there is no way you can compete with the big companies, and therefore the whole idea of local manufacturing is serving to the local market. Okay, so this factory was designed to serve to the local market. Every operation of assembling so what I was saying, that it is indeed possible that we have in our project trained the local communities at various level, not only to make solar products, but we have also trained them to make the solar solutions, solar home lighting system. We have trained them to install entire solar. But not only that, we have also trained them to so basically, so that people can manufacture locally for the local market. So that is one factory that is running in the northern part of India, in state called Rajasthan, and many women are involved in the whole process. They do every operation from the beginning to end, and they produce panels and they sell the panels. So this program was very kind of a big program. We have reached to about 8.5 million households in India, which is spread across about 40,000 villages in 10 states. We have trained more than 10,000 local people, and we now more than 1,000 shops which are running. These are the solar share. People are kind of earning money by selling different kind of solar products. So that brings me to the whole idea of energy Swaraj, that energy is a major driver, fossil energy is a major problem, and if we do not go local and be locally self-sufficient, there is absolutely no way we can be sustainable on this planet. And therefore, the whole idea of energy Swaraj is a scenario where locals generate and consume their own energy needs using locally available renewable energy sources, involving local communities. So everything can be local, and we can be locally self-sufficient. Whenever we do that, the question always is whether such a thing is viable or possible or not. So basically, so the question that we need to ask whether such a thing is technologically feasible, socially acceptable. So I will not go into the details of the technicalities, but let me tell you briefly that over the last 3 to 4 decades, the technology has evolved very significantly, tremendously. And right now we get the solar panels, which are very high performing panels. And not only that, we have grown in terms of the technology and the efficiency, but we have also brought down the cost significantly. So I have done my PhD in solar energy. Not only I can say that it is the cost that we pay today is unimaginably low. It is really, really low cost. And definitely solar energy is environmentally friendly. The kind of carbon footprint it has as compared to the carbon footprint of a fossil power plant is much, much less, about 20 to 40 times lesser. And because it can create a lot of job opportunities, it is actually doable locally. And so in terms of viability of energy Swaraj, whether we can think of a system which is locally self-sufficient, I think it is very much possible, and we have been demonstrating that it is possible. In terms of so this Energy Swaraj is a foundation that we have kind of registered last year. It's a not-for-profit organization. Last year there was a competition organized by IEEE. IEEE is a major international institution where the competition was about finding a solution for empowering billion lives. And we presented this idea of Energy Swaraj, at various levels, there were more than 450 teams from all over the world and various levels of competition. We were the winner in the South Asia, but we were also the global winner. And we got the prize money of 100,000 US dollars. And with 100,000 US dollars, I have founded this organization called Energy Swaraj Foundation. Now, before even we go further in adopting to the Energy Swaraj, I would like to make very clear that our approach has to be also. Remember, again, there is only enough for everybody's need in the world, not for the greed. And therefore, if you have a lot of money and if your energy requirements are a lot, and if you convert everything in solar, I would say you have not done a great job. You might have done a good job by converting to solar, but not a great job. Because even solar technology is not a without any carbon footprint. So what I would suggest is, what you need to do is you need to follow this AMG principle. A is avoid use of energy as much as possible, even if it is solar energy. Even if it is solar energy, as I said, carbon footprint of solar energy is not zero. So avoid as much as possible. And if you look at carefully around you, easily you can avoid 1/3 of energy that you consume today. The next step is go to M, that is minimize. You can minimize the use of energy by using a very efficient appliances. So there are LED lights, for example, very efficient. There are fans which are very efficient, TV, refrigerator, washing machine, air conditioner, every appliance. If you look at the efficient version of it, you can easily save 20, 30, 40% of the energy. So 1/3 you can save from minimizing it. And the last is remaining 1/3 you can generate it. And therefore I call it as a AMG principle is a 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 model. And if you do not follow AMG, you will have to say OMG, oh my God, solar is very expensive. Oh my God, I can't put solar on my roof and this and that. So if you want to adopt to Energy Swaraj, we have to follow this principle. And if you do that, many benefits of Energy Swaraj, we will create sustainability, we will create livelihoods, there'll be economic opportunities for many people, the local economies will become stronger, people will become independent in energy, the societies and the countries will become independent of energy, and it will bring discipline in the consumption with the help of modern technology. So I see that there are many benefits of attaining Energy Swaraj. Last year I went to promote this idea. Last year I went all over the world. I visited about 30 countries. I was also in Indonesia. I visited also. And one of the idea was, why can't our local youth learn to make some hands-on training on solar system, solar lamps. So almost 1 million students, almost 1 million across the world learned to make their solar lamp last year. What I'm going to do, I have taken a leave from my institute, very long leave, because the climate change is a very serious threat to us and to our future generation. And there is no planet B where we can go. There is only planet A, the planet Earth. And therefore, we need to urgently and immediately solve this emergency we have in terms of climate change. So I have taken a leave and I'm going to go on Energy Swaraj journey, or Yatra, we say in India. This will be a long 10, 11 years journey where I will be going from one place to other place and keep talking to people, and not only talking, providing and offering them solution that people can surrender their electricity connection, which is our main target, to surrender electricity connection and come to solar solution 100%, be completely independent. So that is the whole idea. And with this, I would request you to be in touch with whatever we are doing right now. You can connect with me because the whole problem, the climate change problem, is a global problem and it requires a global effort to solve it. I mean, no one country, one institution can solve it. I believe that the governments cannot solve it, policies cannot solve it, subsidies cannot solve it. It is the people who can come together and solve this problem. And therefore, we need some kind of a public movement, where especially the young people should come forward. and take a control of situation before it becomes really worse. And therefore, do follow me or Energy Swaraj Foundation, and together we can actually solve this problem. And together, by the people, we can solve this problem. So, with this, I would like to thank once again for inviting me and giving.
Thank you very much for a very interesting presentation, Dr. Chitans. In the question session, because of the time constraints, like we have time about 5 minutes, maybe are going to pick up 1 or 2 questions from the participant. So I would like to see, and yeah, give me a second, please. There is one question from Abdulli Chonga. Dr. Chitan, considering the renewable and non-renewable as a form of energy, in your capacity, which form of energy can be utilized in order to attain sustainability in concern to climate change pattern, global warming?
Well, I mean, answer is very clear that anything that goes with the nature only can be sustainable. So anything that is not in synchronization with the nature, it is not sustainable. So fossil energy is definitely not in synchronization with the nature in the time that we live in, the pace at which we live in. So therefore, it has to be only and only renewable energy if we really want to be sustainable living on the planet.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Chitan. Maybe from a question from another participant, I would like maybe Pak Muzailin.
Yes.
Yes, please.
Prof. Solanki.
Yeah, hello.
Hello, Prof.
How are you?
Yeah, how are you? Long time no see. Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah,
today.
good to see you.
It's very nice to hear from you again. So I think many of
Thank you very much.
our students and our professor here, very interesting to collaborate with you. So I would like to have the opportunity next year. We will have maybe one conference. Pak Salwo Edi mentioned maybe you can be one of the keynote speakers, and also we would like to ask your collaboration on the joint research. And also, you know, many of our students interesting to conduct internship program in India. So please support. We can arrange maybe some of our students visit your university and your labs for the next year. We hope that the COVID situation normal. And also we plan to conduct summer program next year. So we also would like to collaborate with you and the team, and of course with Dr. Salwo Edi and the team at our university. We can conduct summer program, also join research, Professor.
Sure. So thank you, Professor Muzailin. First of all, that I told that I have taken a long leave from my institute, and I will be continuously traveling for 11 years now. And I believe that the climate change problem, if we really want to solve, we need to go beyond the conferences now. You know, it is really time for practicing.
Yes.
And what I'm going to do is, in the next 6 months, I'm going to create what is called online solar university, where your student can get everything that you need in solar energy, whether a school student, college student, research student, every information or the knowledge or the training that is required, we will make it available for people online, so that any part in the world you can do that. In fact, we can collaborate in converting those training programs in your local language. If you want to convert in your local language, we can collaborate and you convert those training programs so that you can do that. For example, I have created a training program for designing a solar system for your own homes. And this is a free training available on a YouTube. And in last 3 months, 60,000 people have done the course. So if you want to convert in your local language, you can convert it, and then it can be free for the entire Indonesia, for example. So those kind of collaboration where it helps people to adopt solar energy, maybe that would be a better collaboration, because then we'll find a real life solutions immediately. And that is the need of the hour.
Yes, Professor. Thank you very much for your support and the information. Of course, we would like to go for that. Any possibility to collaborate, join research, and also online course with you, we very appreciate it. Okay, Pak Sarwo, I will give back to you.
Thank you, Dr. Muzailin Afan. According to the program rundown, there will be a promotion program from our speaker, Professor Chitan. Please, Professor.
Yeah, so basically, I just want to kind of appeal to all students. First of all, somebody is asking whether students can apply. So if you go to our website, energyswaraj.org, then you will find that you can become part of this Energy Swaraj movement. As I said, we need to make it as a public movement and a global movement. And movement can only happen when young people and everybody can join together. So it would be really, really nice if students, those who are attending, and the professors, those who are attending, can actually go to our website link, which I shown earlier, www.energyswaraj. I can put it in the text box again, chat box again. You please go to this link and become part of it. Now, what we are going to do is there are about 5 different targets we have made for ourselves. One is we want to bring this awareness to about 1 billion people in the world. We want to make 1 billion people aware about the energy and climate. You can be one of the volunteer in your country, in your area, to promote this, bring the information. We also want to make local people as entrepreneurs. So you can become entrepreneur of solar energy and provide solution in your location and help the community. Also, because it's a not-for-profit organization, we also look for the donations to run the program. One of our program is also plantation in a big way. About 330 million trees we are going to plant. So I would also request whatever small donation you would like to make, please also make a donations to our account, so that together we can create this whole planet as a sustainable living, and things are really slipping out of our hands. Right now, as I'm talking, the Siberia, the northern part of the Russia, which is really cold and it is always covered with the snow. The average temperatures in the Siberia right now is 10 degrees centigrade above normal. 10 degrees centigrade above normal. It's a really, really dangerous. We feel very scary when we look at these numbers, how things are going out of our hand very, very fast, faster than we can think. So therefore, time is really running out, and we all have to take action. Whatever action you can take, you can reduce your energy consumption, you can become part of the Energy Swaraj movement, you can become the entrepreneur, all kind of things you can do. And that is my sincere request to all of you to be taking part, promote this socially in social media. You can promote Energy Swaraj in your country, in your region. I think all those helps will be a great help for solving the problem together. That is what I would like to say.
Thank you, Dr. Chitan. Finally, we come to the end of our program. Before I close the webinar, I would like to summarize a little bit a presentation from Dr. Chitan. Like we already listened that energy connect all aspects of our life. I think we should use energy in a wise way, because otherwise that will bring a negative impact on our environment, such as climate change. And there is a interesting approach also has been presenting, like AMG. I very interested about this approach. A for avoid using energy if abundantly, and minimize the using energy, and G for, oh my God, if you use energy, waste my energy, that maybe not good for us. And even though that's if you use like solar energy, that also will be contribute to the what is it, footprint, the carbon dioxide footprint. So on behalf of Office of International Affairs, Universitas Syah Kuala, I would like to express our deep gratitude to Professor Chetan Singh Solansky for delivering such interesting presentation on Energy Swaraj, the energy for sustainability. Hopefully, we still be able to work together on such program again in the future time. Thank you very much. And then I think I'm going to close the program. Thank you for all participants as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you everyone for listening. And I hope some of you will join and become part of the Energy Swaraj movement. Visit the energyswaraj.org website and join it today itself. And let us together make a better world for our future and ourselves. Thank you very much and have a very good day.
Thank you. See you.
See you.